Today, we remember the lives lost on one of America's most tragic days. Good evening. This is CTV News for September 11th. I'm Patricia Vallone.
And I'm Byron Scott. Thank you for joining us tonight. Well, it's been 18 years since hijacked planes are crashed into the World Trade Center and the Pentagon and a field in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. In all, nearly 3,000 men, women, and children were killed. Hundreds
gathered at the 9/11 Memorial Plaza today for a commemoration ceremony. Our Melissa Wright has the story.
Calixto Anaya Jr.,
Joseph P. and Shundia.
One by one, nearly 3,000 names were read early this morning on the Memorial Plaza, all killed on September 11, 2001, after 4 hijacked planes crashed into the World Trade Center, Pentagon, and Pennsylvania Field.
In every case, we remember the initial shock and disbelief we felt when the first airliners struck the World Trade Center.
18 years after the deadliest attack on American soil, family of the victims gathered at the National September 11th Memorial and Museum to remember their loved ones.
Fonseca Aguiar Jr.,
Brian G. Ahern,
Jeremiah Joseph Ahern.
And at the Pentagon, a flag could be seen draping over the building where President Trump spoke to remind America that this tragedy will never happen again.
And if for any reason they come back to our country, we will go wherever they are and use power the likes of which the United States has never used before.
In Atlanta, Melissa Wright, CTV News.
County Council Chair Todd Turner remembers the 9/11 attacks. Turner, who had just moved to Prince George's, was in Manhattan on that fateful day. He tells us of the nearly 3,000 Americans who died in that attack. Those attacks, 24 from Prince George's County, and most worked at the Pentagon. Of the many D.C. area jurisdictions, he says Prince George's suffered the greatest loss of life.
I had just literally that summer moved to Prince George's County, but I was helping a friend of mine who was running for the city council up in New York, and so that was primary day in New York City, and I used to work literally 3 blocks from the World Trade Center before I left and came down here. So I had new friends and others. I know I had a classmate from college who lost his life in the World Trade Center buildings.
I was probably in kindergarten or 1st grade. And they sent everybody home from school. My neighbor picked me up because my parents weren't home, they were at work. And I sat in my neighbor's basement and watched the news feed.
I remember walking from my office, which was near the White House, over across the bridge to get to Virginia and seeing the smoke at the Pentagon. It was awful.
There are several 9/11 events planned for the weekend here in Prince George's, including a 5K walk hosted by the Prince George's Fire EMS. It's set for this Saturday from 6 a.m. until noon at the entrance of Bladensburg Waterfront Park.
Students and staff at the University of Maryland are also remembering the victims of the attacks. Keisha Butts is at the College Park campus with the story.
Nearly 3,000 American flags are flying in front of the Stamp Student Union Center at the University of Maryland to pay tribute to the thousands of victims killed in the 9/11 terrorist attacks. It's called Operation Stick It, and it started in 2013 when a group of veterans planted these flags as a way to remember those that were killed. I spoke with David Reese with Veteran Student Life to find out why this event is so important.
Traditional age freshmen were just being born when the attacks happened, so a lot of the students on campus do not remember it from actually living through it. So it's important for us to make the campus known about the attack so people are aware that it happens, aware how it's still connected to what we're dealing with today, and to be aware of the student veterans that are on campus. We have about 900 student veterans here on campus that were involved in the wars since then and involved in serving.
A lot of people just go through the daily motions, not realizing what the date is, and seeing that I think helps people realize that today is 9/11 and remembering the people that were killed and the families that were impacted.
Well, it's definitely a big impact because my dad was in the city when it happened. Luckily, he wasn't in the towers, and he made it out just fine. But I'm from the tri-state area, so I know a lot of people who were affected. I know it definitely means a lot to people who were impacted, no matter how big the impact was.
Reese says this is a way for the University of Maryland students to never forget the terrorist attacks that rocked the nation. At the University of Maryland, Keisha Butts, CTV News.
And as we continue to remember that tragic day, some state employees are ditching their work attire for painting gloves.
Dozens of people gathered at Quiet Waters Park in Annapolis to kick off the Day to Serve event hosted by the Governor's Office of Community Initiatives. CTV's Katira Jones has our story.
Volunteers are working to paint this building here at Quiet Waters Park. Actually, you can see this gentleman is working to paint this building right here. Now, this is all a part of the multi-state partnership to encourage people to give back to their community. Now, today, 9/11 kicks off the Governor's Day to Serve initiative. With a stroke of a brush, volunteers are making Maryland a more beautiful place.
The Day to Serve is an annual month-long volunteer initiative supported by Governor Hogan. Actually, it's a huge initiative. West Virginia, Washington, D.C., and Maryland participate in this initiative every year. Last year, in 2018, 25,000 Marylanders and state employees committed 70,000 hours for 250 volunteer and charity events. We made a great impact, and we would like to continue to do that.
About 60 volunteers, a majority of them state employees, rolled up their sleeves today.
It's really important for us to always remember those that gave their life, the first responders that gave their life, and the citizens that gave their life on 9/11 by giving back to the community.
All of us would just want to serve our communities every single day, but through our Day to Serve, we can encourage people more and more. And also state employees are given a 4-hour paid leave to participate.
But none of us can forget when terrorists attacked our country 18 years ago. Gay Adams remembers that day vividly.
I was taking my daughters, 2 daughters, to Hillsborough Elementary School. I just walked them. I had my 1-year-old daughter in a stroller, and I was meeting my best friend Jen for our morning walk at Quiet Waters. And she came to the driveway and said, "We're not going today. You need to come inside and turn on the TV." So yeah, it's very vivid in my mind. Yeah. And I did lose a good friend in the towers.
Instead of wallowing in the pain, Jim decided to give back.
There's a lot of videos that we keep seeing over and over again for the last 18 years. And I needed to get out and do something positive, and it takes my mind off the tragedy, but gives me time to think about, friends and family, and, bad stuff happened, but we can do good stuff today.
Later this evening, there will be a 9/11 remembrance ceremony here at Quiet Waters Park. Reporting in Annapolis, Katira Jones, CTV News.
And following that ceremony, there will be a family friend walk and run to benefit the organization Reese Across America.